Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Tuesday, September 24th. And what are we going to be talking about today? Well, I thought we talk about, we talk about the quality of stuff that's coming out these days, throwaway crap, and so forth. And is that the only option we have? If that interests you, stay tuned. All right, welcome back. My name is Eric, and this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Tuesday, the 24th. Today we're talking about the quality, the quality of the products that are out there. It used to be years ago that your reputation was based on what kind of quality and durability your unit had, right? And that was very important to businesses, and it was very important to people that were looking to buy your product because they wanted something that was going to be, long term, longevity, something that would give them as little hassle as possible, do what they want to do with it, but also have it year after year after year. And we get caught up sometimes, I do, in the fact that it's kind of like this throwaway generation where nobody wants to spend any kind of money to get quality. All they want is something to get by a year or two and go get another. Is that the only option available to us as dealers and homeowners? And even businesses that are looking to buy, small engine, lawnmowers, tillers, zero turns, and so forth. And the answer is you can still buy quality. They haven't done away with quality when it comes to their machines, but you're going to pay a better price. Most of us already know that there's a difference between the homeowner and the commercial brands, right? And what took place was years ago when these manufacturers started seeing people wanting stuff cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, most of it coming in from China, right? That they needed to get on the bandwagon as well. And a lot of the companies have made gazillions of dollars. Don't get me wrong, they made money on this low end market. And let's just be honest. Most of us, we want to get stuff as cheaply as possible, but it's going to hold up, right? Well, you can't have as cheaply as possible and hold up in the same sentence if you're buying the low end homeowners grade big box stuff, all right? And a lot of your smaller dealers are carrying the same homeowners versions, right? And they're not made to do a lot of hours. The engines aren't built that way. They're stamped most of the time. The decks, they're all cookie cutter, what I call. And they're all basically the same, but yet just a little bit different based on color, name on the machine. Sometimes they've in Cub Cadet come out and they increased the strength of their decks on their homeowners version, which was great because what we were finding in the shop is one of the most important tools was a hammer to hammer out the dents because it caused the blades to hit. They bump into something with that deck and that deck would bend. But you could bend it back out with a few raps with a hammer. But there was a lot of complaints about it. And Cub Cadet heard their customers griping about it. So they looked into and they went to like the crossover cross stitch pattern, right? On top with the L frame type thing so that it made it a lot sturdier deck. And a lot of times if you look around, what is the first thing to go on a lawnmower? The deck. The deck gets the most abuse. It gets all the grass and the dirt and the wear and the tear, and it's probably the most abused piece of equipment that most of us have, right? We don't take care of it. And with not taking care of it, the first thing that happens is it rusts out. And simply by taking care of it, which means they have a hose outlet on most decks now. And when you get done mowing, hook your garden hose up to it and turn the blades on, and it'll actually wash the inside of your deck and get it clean. But I hear so often, people say, well, they don't build them like they used to. Well, yeah, they do. It's just you're not willing to pay that price point is the answer. I mean, you could buy a plain Jane GMC four-wheel drive truck, stator shift on the floor, back in 80, 81 for $6,900. Try to buy that same truck today. That same truck today is probably going to cost you right around 40, 42,000. The same truck is still around. It's just the price point, right? With the homeowner's version of your lawnmowers and stuff, you got to remember that 40 years ago, paying $4,000 to $5,000 for the ultimate garden tractor, one that you could do many things with other than just mow your yard, wasn't unheard of, especially with Cub Cadet, right? Cub Cadet, when they were owned by International, they did a lot of advancements in where they wanted the direction of the company to go. But again, these manufacturers also were listening to the general population, general public, and they were all screaming it cost too much money, and they were going for the cheaper, like the Sabres, basically a lot of the MTD stuff. Like MTD built Sabre for John Deere, but all the brands got on the bandwagon. Okay, it's either one figured it out and started making decent money and started outselling all the rest. And the only way the rest could compete is to try to come up with a low-end model price point that could compete with, like, the Sabre. So that's where they came out with called the homeowner's version. The homeowner's version is just basically a cookie cutter, and if it lasts 3 or 4 years, it's doing well. But if you want to buy quality like we did years ago back in the 80s, you're going to be spending 20, 30 grand in comparison to that GMC truck to the garden tractor with the numerous attachments, right? They weren't cheap. People were putting money in investments, investing in their tools, their vehicles, and to have longevity, right? Now the vehicles will last longer than they did years ago. They've even gone to, like, my truck is all aluminum basically with a steel frame. And that's for rust. It's not going to rust out. But the prices went with it. And I've seen so many times commercial guys that are doing landscaping and all that, they're bitching and complaining about the different manufacturers of, like, Cub Cadet, Toro, Troy-Bilt, and they have no reason to bitch as far as I'm concerned. If you go buy the homeowner's version and you're doing commercial landscaping, and that's even a couple yards a week as far as I'm concerned, when you start taking on more yards and more hours on that unit per year, then you need to look at, all right, my feeling is if you need to buy the homeowners to get you started, get you into business so you can build on that, I understand that aspect, and I can agree to a certain point. But expect that unit not to last long. And for you guys that don't know it, that are commercial guys, the minute you take a homeowner's, like from Tractor Supply or anywhere else, and you use it commercially, it voids warranty. If you're not using their commercial units, it voids the warranty. Just for the heads up. But a lot of the commercial guys, when they're first getting started, they can't afford to step out and drop 30 grand, right? So the tendency is to look at a $2,000 unit, and even if it lasts them a couple of years, it take 10 years, 20 years to get back what they've spent compared to buying that commercial. But then you look at breakdowns and anything else like that. A lot of the commercial guys I know buy commercial units and they keep them for 3 to 5 years. And then they either sell them outright or they trade them back in and stay updated with the new stuff. And usually within that 4 to 5 year period, that unit is paid for itself. So that's their down payment on the next machine, right? On the new machine, staying current. So even for the homeowner, if you want something with quality and you want to get, like a tiller attachment for the back, you want to get a mower, you want to get, what are the other attachments you can get? There's quite a few of them out there if you really get to looking at them. Back blades, then you're going to need to step up to the more commercial model type thing. Like John Deere sells a lot of their, I call them glorified lawnmowers. But what they are is they're like 4-wheel drive. They got 3-point hitch arms. They got a PTO shaft. They're basically a tractor, but made littler, right? And they usually run on a 20 to 30 horse engine. And some of them are 2-cylinder diesel Yanmars that hold up over the test of time. But you're still looking at 20 grand. 30 grand for that unit. But that investment will last most people a lifetime if they take care of it. And that's the key, is taking care of stuff. If you want quality, is it available? Yes. Like it used to be years ago? Yes. But the price point is up there. And you better be willing to ante up. Now, I'd like to have your thoughts on this, when it comes to which is the better deal. I mean, I see these commercial guys looking at a Cub Cadet for $2,200 and say, well, for $22,000, I get the commercial model, but I'm only keeping it for 4 or 5 years. Wouldn't it be just as smart to buy 10 of these at $2,200 a piece and just use them until they blow up, then grab the next new one and grab the next new one? I guess so. It depends on how you run a business. But if I'm going to run a business, the last thing I want is breakdowns. Other than service work and stuff. And that after so many hours, your high degree pumps are going to be, and your final drive, your gear and stuff, are going to have to be replaced or rebuilt. But you figure that all in for the cost point of when you're doing that commercial job, right? You have that figured in of you got to get so much money back from each, commercial property to pay for that unit. And I can also tell you, if you're looking at doing commercial and you're doing it for like housing units, hotels, big chains and that stuff, they don't want to see cheap quality lawnmowers mowing their yards. They want to see somebody that got their act together and is doing professional work with quality machines. Because even though you don't work per se for that business, you're still representing that business if somebody pulls into one of their big hotel chains and you're out there mowing the yard, trying to keep everything looking good. The end result is what these guys look at, is how well you do it, how well you got your shit together. And having good equipment and the right equipment to do the job that they want done. But the biggest thing I know of is you need to stay current. You need to stay with the newer stuff, and you need to have a plan in place that every 3 to 5 years you're bringing in new. Because after that many hours, depending on how big a commercial guy you are, a lot of these guys that I know have got like 6, 8 crews out working in different locations. And they've got their truck with their name, the business. A lot of them now have got the little signs they stick in people's front yards. This yard is mowed by so-and-so. To bring in more business, make sure you ask the homeowner or the business if it's okay to put that sign out before you do. But you guys that are doing landscaping professionals, what's your take on all this? I'm really curious to know, that how do you figure what unit you buy and why you buy it? And is cost still a factor? Or is it you need quality? And quality will last the test of time as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not a landscaper, so I don't know. You guys may have a different take on it than I do. But going back to the topic of today, are those units still available? Yes. The quality is still there for most of the manufacturers out there, but the end result is you're going to pay for it. And that unit will last you. If you're a homeowner and you go out and buy a $20,000, $30,000 piece of equipment, good chances are that will last you a lifetime if you're over 30 years old, 40 years old. Unless you really beat it to death. The big thing up in this area, in our rural area, is people going out and buying the compact tractors with a loader, and it's got the back hose, the back blades, snow blowers, front mount, rear mount. The list goes on, and with all the attachments, post hole diggers. And they buy these units, and they get the package deal, of course, And the big sellers up in our area are, of course, John Deere and Mahindra. Those are the two biggies that I know of that fill that market. And a lot of people that I see buying them are actually folks that are 50 or older. They're looking at retirement down the road. They're looking at buying a piece of property and then having something that will do everything for them. And they can play around during their retirement years with the bucket and moving snow to putting in gardens. And that's another thing I've seen since COVID is a lot of people have gone back to growing their own food. Years ago, everybody canned, right? And that meant you had a garden so that you could can your vegetables and you could can your pork and you can your beef. But now we have freezers, right? So a lot of your meats we can freeze. There's even a lot of vegetables you can freeze too, by the way. And then just pull them out as you need them. But now with the homeowner coming back to doing gardens, they're going to start looking at what piece of equipment will do it all. Instead of having a walk-behind rototiller, a walk-behind snowblower, a riding lawnmower, that's all it does is mow. They're buying pieces of equipment that can do it all. So on that note, I'm going to start wrapping this up. I'm curious to hear from you guys that are doing landscaping on what you're buying and why you're buying it. And, even some of you guys that are homeowners, they have stepped up to what I classify as a commercial grade, the higher grade. And the higher grade you go, the more attachments you can put on it, right? How many of you guys out there have stepped up and gone with something like that? If you're just mowing your yard 10 times a season, and it's not a super big yard, I understand the homeowner's version, but if you're looking for quality and you're looking to have it last the test of time, and you know how to take care of your stuff, good chances are you've already bought commercial or stepped up with things that you can put attachments on. So on that note, I'm going to let you guys go. You guys have a great Tuesday. We'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Again, thanks so much for watching. And I want to get some feedback from you guys on what it is you're buying and why. All right.